Hello there, welcome back to my Pauper Flophouse of Fun. I'm Jack Murray. You can see an accompanying article to this going up shortly at numotgaming.com. And this week I am trying out some Infect shenanigans, since quite a few people mention Infect, but I never see it, turning up all that often in 5.0 deck lists for Pauper leagues. So the default for Infect, much like in Modern, is quite often like green-blue, which gets you Blighted Agent, which is admittedly a great card, and Gitaxian Probe and some unblockable cards. That's all fine, but I thought I would take a slightly different approach. I saw someone on Reddit posting that they constructed like a miraculous turn 1 Infect kill with green-red, and that involves like Lotus Petals, Simian Spirit Guides and that sort of thing. I'm not going to try and do that, but Reckless Charge is one of my favorite cards of all time, and it seems like more or less the perfect place to put Reckless Charge in a deck where it may as well give +6 attack due to the nature of the Infect mechanic. What we are doing here is obviously playing in some sort of Infect creature, and then attempting to attack our opponent in like a large burst of damage and kill them in one hit. Sort of similar to the blue-red Blitz decks, except this may be a bit worse since we don't have Preordained Ponder. But details. Our creatures at least can't get killed by Hydroblast or Pyroblast or anything like that. So we've got our 13 creatures. We've got these 12 here and one Cyst Bearer. Unlike Modern Infect, you don't have Inkmoth Nexus, which is a big part of it. And just having 12 creatures is a little bit low in Pauper since there's so much removal in the format. So we have to bite the bullet and play a 3-mana one. And I chose Despair just because it's the most toughness. I could have chosen the red one that has a 2/1 with First Strike. Or there's Rotwolf, which draws you a card if they chump with it. But I feel like having a certain amount of immunity to Firebolts and that sort of thing probably come up slightly more often than getting to draw cards from enemy chumps, but I guess we'll find out. And probably the big elephant in the deck list is this Kadama's Reach, and you're thinking, well, why is there a Kadama's Reach? It's the most expensive card in the deck, and that's because a lot of the time, if your opponent has a bunch of early cheap interaction with you, you sort of need to build up a bunch of mana in order to actually kill them, because you'll need mana available to cast Fines, you'll need mana to cast Apostle's Blessings, and a Groundswell and a Reckless Charge, especially if you're flashing it back, and if you're trying to kill them in one hit. If you're playing Blight Mama plus Reckless Charge, that's 3 to begin with, plus you need some other mana. So this is why there's a Kadama's Reach for the times when the matchups where sometimes things stall out a little bit and then you need to build up to one turn where you cast a Glistener Elf, then a Reckless Charge, then a Temur Battle Rage, and then play Vines. For that reason, that's why there's some Gruul Turfs, so you can build up mana to a critical turn where you kill them. Hickory Woodlot helps in the same thing, but it can also be played on turn 1 in order to play a turn 2 Ichor Claw Mirror plus Reckless Charge if your mana aligns that way. Alternatively, play this on turn 2 plus hold up mana for a Groundswell or something to protect it. So there's 21 lands, 3 of them being Gruul Turfs, so that means we have a reasonable amount of mana, probably higher than most of the aggro decks in Pauper. We also get to play a couple of Teetering Peaks, which aren't amazing, but they're mana sources which also count as pump spells if you ever actually get to attack your opponent, which is nice. And once in a while you get to reuse them with Gruul Turf. As for the spells themselves, like mutagenic growth's fairly obvious. Unfortunately, it doesn't save your creatures from Lightning Bolt all that often. Lightning Bolt is like obviously the best card to kill these creatures through most pump spells, since you can't just save it for free. There are like a few groundswells. Groundswells harder to trigger in Pauper Infect compared to like Modern Infect because like you don't really have fetch lands. I mean, you could have fetch lands, but they're a lot worse. 4 Vines because they're protective spells and pump spells. I'm playing a full 4 Rancor because like it's just such a powerful card any time that you get to resolve one. Especially on like Ichor Clawmare, which makes chump blocking often actually more poisonous for them than just taking the hit. And a common line of play is to have a creature, and then your opponent has like potentially some burn spells open. So you play a Rancor, and then they try and kill it, and then you protect it with a Vines or something, and then everything goes fairly well. So I like having like permanent sources of pump, since we also don't have Become Immense. We can't necessarily kill our opponent in one turn every single time. So there's a few Temur Battle Rages. There's not 4, since it is sort of tricky to pull off, but it can sometimes steal games that few other cards can, since it does go pretty well with, say, Reckless Charge, for example, if you have like a couple of red mana around. It also is another trample giver, along with the Rancor, which helps make up for the lack of actual evasion in their deck. Reckless Charge, as mentioned, it gives a massive power boost and haste. So your opponents, if they don't know about Reckless Charge in your deck, which they might not necessarily think about it, they might just be assuming Temur Battle Rage is all we've got. It adds up to like a ton of surprise damage if they're not expecting it. If they like play, they attack with their Seagate Oracle, and then play Compulsive Research or something like that, play a bounce land, and then you like untap, play a Glistener Elf, play a Reckless Charge, so that's like 4, plus any other additional spells you happen to have around, and you can easily kill them in one hit, which is a nice position to be in when you previously have nothing on the board except from lands. Hammerhand is another haste giving effect, and also the can't block ability is pretty good, especially if your opponent like plays a Gurmag Angler or something like that and expects it to hold the ground effectively. And believe it or not, the +1/+1 effect is actually not too bad either. Like all 3 parts of the card, like the haste, the power and toughness, and the can't block ability, are all pretty relevant, especially in like post-board games where like if you play Glistener Elf, your opponent plays Swiftwater Cliffs, and you play a Hammerhand on your Glistener Elf, then it means your elf doesn't die to Electricity, which is a real concern with 12 of the creatures in our deck all dying to Electricity. Apostle's Blessing are just some extra protection spells and / getting past a bunch of blockers cards. And yeah, that's it. That's like the whole deck. That's why everything is there. There are a bunch of other sweet cards Ken wanted to put in, but didn't get around to trying yet. Like there are so many different pump spells in like niche auras, depending on the metagame, that you could easily put in. As for the sideboard, we have a couple of Electricity ourselves. We have some Flame Slashes, mostly for 4/4s because they're pretty annoying. We have a bunch of Pyroblasts. We have a Flaring Pain for the fog matchups. We have a couple of Aerial Volleys for Delvers and Squadron Hawks and that sort of nonsense. And we have 3 Corpse Curs for like attrition matches. We don't really get to sideboard that often. We don't really get to sideboard that many cards in most matchups. If a matchup is just pure speed and never gets to a big turn, then you can like cut the Kadama's Reach or like a Suspiria or something. if the game is more deliberately paced, you can like board out some of the pump spells just so that you have fewer dead draws if your opponent kills a bunch of your creatures. And yeah, we're about to go into a league. Hopefully you will come to join me for round 1. I'll see you there.